24th, 2025, and this is the IPSD program. The topic right now is notes, and the opening scene has a couple of, first it shows the camera tilting down, and you see a sign that says, Atlanta City Executioner, Tyler. It goes into it shows a date, which looks like September 10th, but it's actually the 19th. Not that it matters. But the opening scene is a news reporter, and she's describing the hurricane as a storm at the behest of the studio because they don't want to deter people from showing up in the hurricane. But they make a reference to the storm. And the storm is one of the key words that we've seen throughout the Charlie Kirk predictive programming body of content. All the PSYOP reinforcement content. There's a lot of stuff connecting with the storm, like the show on Hulu called The Tempest. And of course, Erica Kirk was called The Storm. So there's a bit here. I put a link at timosmond.blogspot. No, timosmond.substack. And let's just talk about, first of all, Snake Eyes. So Snake Eyes opens up at a boxing match. And during the fight, a Senator U.S. Secretary of Defense Charlie Kirkland. Charlie Kirkland is assassinated. The bullet goes into the left side of his neck, just like Charlie Kirk. So obviously, between the name Tyler being shouted out, the boxer being called the executioner, and there's other symbolism as well. I'm just pointing out the most obvious connections. The guy's name, Charlie Kirkland, getting shot in that part of the neck. So all that pretty much lines up. Yeah, exactly. Penguinati Auto Hoaxer says, Snake Eyes seals it. PSYOP confirmed. Absolutely. You know, I've been pointing this out. When somebody says, well, I'm still on the fence. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. Okay, that person is not being a skeptic if they haven't refuted the information that makes the original story appear to be bent, news bent, staged, faked, hoaxed. They really have to deal with that burden of proof. It's not ours anymore. There's a lot there. In my opinion, one of the biggest reveals that this thing is staged is that there's this rollout of contrived conspiracy theories from all the alt-right talking heads like Ian Carroll and Candace Owens that are getting all the airtime, and nobody's talking about the idea that Charlie's not actually dead. If they're not starting off with the idea that Charlie Kirk is still alive, if they've accepted the premise that he's dead, you can reject everything they're saying as anything. It's state-approved conspiracy theories. It's template. But the fact that you have these template rabbit trails planted in advance, the fact that they put red herrings, tells you the thing is staged. You don't have red herrings and highly promoted alternative theories about real events. It doesn't happen like that. And it's always the same people with the same opinions. They're laughably predictable. And even now, I think Nick Fuentes was shying away from Netanyahu did it, but he's on InfoWars and he's like, wait. There's no way that the bullet stopped in his neck, so therefore a second shooter, therefore. So they've left it open. The default explanation is Israel did it just like JFK, which is the chorus that you're hearing online, as predicted. And I pointed out that this is an intrinsic part of the storyline because it gives alt-right vindication. Because for them, that's the real power that controls the world, and Kirk was going up against it. It's fundamental to woke rightism that Charlie Kirk was taken out by Israel because he was trying to, and Candace Owens claims he was breaking away from calling it Judeo-Christian and calling it just Christian, which is a woke right thing. Anyway, I've been looking at this thing from how it's being interpreted and bandied about in the political sphere, and it definitely fits the template of a hoax. But now, yeah, Reality Witness, definitely absurd amount of connections with the PSYOP. Yeah, and I'm really happy to find that the people who are noting the connections, and I'll get more into these, aren't calling it a simulation or a video game this time. You find these connections with these various events, like with Luigi Mangione, and the explanation is, yeah, we're all a bunch of video game characters and nothing is real. No, the news is fake, reality's real. If you think that news being fake means reality's real, then you think news is reality. You think the map is the territory. And most people do. That's why when confronted with this information, their minds are blown. That's why Joe Rogan's like, we must be in a simulation. And that's a deliberate strategy, because as long as you think that you can attribute these coincidences to a higher power or simulation of the devil, you're mystifying it, and you're not looking at the fact that it's government propaganda. It's subtle, it's well executed, but we're looking at a manufactured martyr. And if you think he's dead, I would ask, what is your evidence? I saw it on TV is not good enough. And we're not basing our rejection of the story as presented based on what we saw on TV. I'm not saying I saw it on TV so it's fake, or I can tell it's fake from the screen. No, our assessment here includes all of the peripheral information. And it goes back to other similar events, because these are part of a contiguous series of simulated events superimposed over the news cycles, basically grafted onto our history. Yeah, I saw the bullet thing. We'll get into that in a second. But let's get with this again. So, Snake Eyes. It's likely that Nick Cage represents Donald Trump. The hotel it takes place in is one of his properties, some Taj Mahal or something. So you have this Trump connection, and the guy, Nick Cage, is this kind of casino boss. And some say that he's basically Trump, and I agree. So there's that. So we're looking at this movie, though, where it opens up with a Charlie Kirkland getting shot in the neck, an assassination. So you're ready. Tyler the Executioner, he's the boxer, but the name Tyler's and Executioner's in there. And it happens in September, and it happens during a storm. The storm connection, which is a big part of the story, ties into Tempest and Erica Kirk being called the Storm. And that's in the Hulu series. And what's interesting about this Hulu series is it takes place in South Korea, and Charlie Kirk was just there, being preyed on or prayed over in this big religious, Christian Republican group. This basically similar to what he has here with TPUSA. So the TPUSA